Hari Om friends, welcome to this new series. So this will be the technology series, and in here I will be highlighting some interesting technologies, controversial aspects of technologies as I come across them in my reading. In this episode, we'll be talking about Project Panama, the great AI copyright theft. So you must be wondering what is Project Panama. Some of you might have heard of it, some of you won't. So I'll explain everything in the next slide. So let's hop on to the next slide. This was a headline from the Washington Post. So I have posted a screenshot from their website, and it says inside an AI startup's plan to scan and dispose of millions of books. Now, the AI startup they are talking about is quite a big venture funded company now. It's called Anthropic. And you might have heard of it because Anthropic ran into a lot of controversy with the US government, especially with Donald Trump, because they apparently refused to make unethical use of AI for warfare purposes to kill people, basically. Okay, so that seems to be a very high principled and a highfalutin kind of company, but we'll find out, what the reality is. This article kind of talks about Anthropic being forced to fork out $1.4 billion as compensation to authors for using their works without permission and without copyright to train its AI models. Briefly put, what AI is, very simplistically saying, it's like a kid in your class who gets very good marks, who might be the top of the class, but his knowledge really comes from mugging up stuff in the textbooks, so rote learning. And he's the kind of person, or she is the kind of person who can remember the comma, full stop of every sentence in the textbook. So basically commits to memory. But if you ask them to do any kind of creative or out of the box thinking, it's beyond their capacity. So AI in its current form and shape is exactly like that. Basically, it's that kid who has learned everything off the internet, and now obviously it can't go beyond it. It needs to be fed knowledge from beyond the internet, and obviously the biggest source of knowledge is from books, right from your fiction to non-fiction and everything in between. Before we dive in, let's have a little look at Anthropic's website and the reason why it needed to steal intellectual properties. In the next snippet, I will take you through the website itself. So let's go on there. Like I said, a leading AI company or an AI startup, and it has got chatbot called Claude, which is very popular with developers and programmers because apparently it is quite good at correcting code and so on and so forth. And apparently Claude also went on Mars with the NASA Mars rover. So it did something, and let's have a look at their kind of mission or vision statement. So AI will have a vast impact on the world, and Anthropic is a public benefit corporation dedicated to securing its benefits and mitigating its risks. So looks like a very ethical company, doesn't it? Okay, so let's have a look and see about the company because I'm looking for the values of the company. Okay, hopefully it comes up. Okay, we build safer systems. Okay, we'll skip this. Okay, what we value and how we act. I won't read the whole blurb, but we'll just have a look at the values. So, act for the global good. Fantastic. Hold light and shade. Okay, so these are the guys who are going to protect us against AI going rogue and, like Skynet in Terminator killing all of us. Okay. And that's what the tiff was with the US Department of Defense, or the Department of War, as it's now called, because they don't want AI to be used to kill people. Be good to our users. Okay. Ignite a race to the top on safety. This company is very big on putting guardrails or safeguards around the ethical and proper use of AI. Do the simple thing that works. Be helpful, honest, and harmless. Okay, so very, very, very high values. You can see. Put the mission first. Okay, I think this value should have been number one. Put the mission first. Everything else comes later. Okay, so these are the values of the companies. You can see it seems to be a very ethical kind of company. And now let's go on to the next part and see what Project Panama was all about. Okay, so just give me a minute and I will hop on to the next part. So the image you see on this slide of a humongous warehouse with millions of books is what Project Panama was all about. So this was about procuring used books, scanning them on an industrial scale, and using that data to train Anthropic's AI models. So how did this come out in the open? Because this was obviously a secret project for the company. This came out quite accidentally because several authors combined to launch what is known as a class action suit in the US against Anthropic for using their creative works to train Anthropic's AI models illegally and without permission. So basically, pirating somebody's work and using it for their AI model. And during the court case, company had to provide a lot of data, and in this data, this little nugget was hidden that they had bought almost 1 to 2 million books, used them to train the AI model. So let's go into the court finding, and I will just read out extracts from this. As part of the legal filing, it came out that the co-founder of Anthropic, a gentleman called Ben Mann, had downloaded a massive tranche of fiction and non-fiction books from different pirate sites like Anna's Archive, and there's a bigger site called LibGen over an 11-day period in 2021. And in 2022, there was a new pirate website called the Pirate Library Mirror, and Mann apparently remarked that we deliberately violate the copyright law in most countries. Okay, so remember all this talk about being ethical, honest, etc. And he also sent a link to other Anthropic employees saying just in time. So basically, they got this digitalized tranche of books, millions of books, which they could use to train the AI model. Now, Anthropic got away kind of lightly, so they had to pay $1.4 billion to the authors, and I believe 3,000 or 4,000 books were listed, but they got off on a very minor technicality because the judge, his name was William Alsop, he found that Anthropic was within its rights to use books for training AI models because they use the material in a transformative way. So it's a technicality. And he compared the AI training process to teachers training school children to write well. So, and this is quite disputed. There are many other cases going on. But what caused a problem was how Anthropic downloaded millions of pirated books without permission, and the judge found that the company had infringed on the author's copyright when they downloaded millions of books without permission. And this was where that $1.4 billion fine came into play. And Anthropic kind of decided to pay the fine without admitting wrongdoing, and I believe authors roughly received $3,000 per title. Now, Anthropic had also another project going on called Project Panama. This was a operation to buy used books and scan them and then destroy them once they had been turned into soft copies. So they initially approached a big used book dealer called World Books and a UK based dealer called World of Books. Total number of books has been blacked out, but it's assumed anywhere between 500,000 to a million books were scanned by a contract given to a document scanning company. And these books were then destroyed because to scan, you basically have to rip the binding apart and you have to rip the boards if it's a hardbound, or if it's a paperback, you have to completely basically separate the pages of the book for industrial level scanning. So the books were destroyed and then they were sent to, I believe, recycling. And what the judge also said from the start, Anthropic had many places from which it could have legally purchased the books, but it preferred to steal them to avoid. And he's quoting Dario Amodei, who's the CEO of Anthropic, to avoid legal slash practice slash business slog. So all this, hyperbole about being honest, ethical, kind, and so on and so forth. So all this is just bunkum. And there are other instances of downloading, millions of copies of unauthorized, pirated books basically. And Anthropic used this to train its large language models because, like I said, the AI in its present avatar is like a kid who simply mugs up things, and they have kind of run out of scraping copyright and non-copyright data from the internet. So now they need to feed this little monster all the data in the books, and which is why Microsoft wants its Copilot to run on your machines so they can send the data back to their servers and then use it to train their models, because they are running out of data. So it's like they want more data, more power, more money. This seems more and more like the dot com bubble. Okay, so let me see if there's something else. So that's pretty much it. I hope you like this video, friends. So this is just a little bit different from the usual history and culture. If you have liked this video, please do remember to share, like, and subscribe. And I will see you in the next video. Hari Om.